Walk for Life to action against widespread abuse of women and girls. State enterprise to pay more dividends. And NRI Report details the housing benefits tax in PNG.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and welcome to Thursday's news. Women in the city have been urged to join the Walk for Life this Sunday in Port Moresby. President of NCD Women Network, Rose Kiripo, says the government will not make any difference unless women stand up and show their commitment to address the widespread abuse of women and girls. The walk will coincide with the Human Rights Day on December 10th.
Members of the NCD Women Network gathered this morning to announce the Walk for Life and Human Rights Day walkathon, which will be held this Sunday. Leader Rose Kiripo says violence against women and girls must be eradicated in communities in the city. She says the walk is an event city residents must embrace to show the level of support to stop such nonsense.
Stoping this like I visa come up country blo mibla. Mibla no like lo come up ken. 42 years ago, Mibla is supposed to settle down. Why Mibla not settle down? Because Mibla all leaders, Mibla all mama luglugi go na now, Mibla fight lo rights blo pikinini blo Mibla fight lo boots blo Mibla. Now Mibla la talking Mibla say Mibla come long December 10 na come support na come na arem to talk blo Mibla na you can walk boom one time na stop him this live you walk lo come up lo country blo Mibla.
According to city statistics, violence or abuse to women and girls in the city has gradually slowed down. However, many remain unreported. On an international scene, the globe will celebrate Human Rights Day on Sunday. Part of the walk will also see campaign messages of acknowledging the efforts to support human rights.
And we are saying enough is enough now. You know, we want to walk and we want to exercise our rights as human beings to walk the streets, to feel safe in the streets, to live healthily, to have a positive mindset.
The women group has carried out a month of awareness and hopes city residents will participate in numbers. The walk will begin as early as 5:30 a.m.
We will start walking from Murray Barracks to Jack Piddick at 5:30 a.m. And then from Jack Piddick, we will take onto the freeway, along Poriporina Freeway, and we will finish our walk at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, where we will have speeches, entertainment and performances, and also many different awareness from different NGOs and our partners who will be also sharing with the masses about the need, about where you can go to get help.
Despite the attack on the recent walk hosted by NCD Governor Powers Pakop, the governor has pledged the heavy presence of police and other security personnel.
I have to work with the police, and I would like the police to step up, but if the police don't step up, I would go further man. The Red Brigade or the Maroon Brigade, Vigilante Squad will come up now.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Northern Governor Gary Juffa claims there are many illegal logging companies operating within the province, and this has raised questions on the issue of permits. This issue was also raised in the recent Parliament sitting.
Government departments and agencies responsible for issuing permits to logging companies have come under the microscope of the Northern Governor at the launching of the Managalas Conservation Area recently. Juffa said he has given notice to the Forestry Ministry of logging projects in the province.
A number of illegal logging projects in this province, Yamagaipa, Wanigela, and down at Girua. These projects are illegal, Minister. They were processed fraudulently. I have already informed the Forest Minister and I have informed you. Those permits and licenses must be cancelled.
Juffa has cautioned that failure by responsible authorities to address this issue might cause a chaotic situation where people will take the matter into their own hands.
And we will take matters into our own hands and deal with the people who are trespassing on our land the way they should be dealt with.
Environment and Conservation Minister John Pundari was also present at the event, acknowledging the governor's plight. Minister Pundari assured the people of Northern to set up an investigation.
One who is from this logging area that is here, And the fact that your governor alluded to some issues with regards to some logging concessions, yes, we will do some investigations and we will ensure that your governor is very well informed, and if there are appropriate actions that are needed to be taken, yes, we will do as a responsible government.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The recently released 2018 national budget has directed state-owned enterprise, the National Fisheries Authority, to pay more in dividends to the government. The authority is expected to pay 400 million kina in 2018, a huge spike from 150 million kina in previous years. Lindsey reports from Manila.
In a measure to curtail public spending, the 2018 budget tabled and released recently by the O'Neill-Abel government aims to ensure that spending is targeted at productive sectors that will aid economic growth. Government agencies will come under pressure to remit funds. In fisheries, this is raising questions about whether the National Fisheries Authority will continue to have the resources to develop the industry. The NFA, the non-commercial regulator and overseer of the development of the fisheries sector, will now pay the government 400 million kina annually in dividends.
Yeah, we've basically jumped from 150 million to 400. It's an enormous task for us to actually raise funds. Resource coming from fishing is not as predictable as what we think in the past. The long-term impact on El Nino in PNG sketch from 2015, 16 and 17 is having an impact on us in terms of how attractive we want to attract the fishing nations to fish in water so that we can maximize the sales of the VDS days. It has not worked well for us, and so we will work on a strategy and how we can provide a feedback to the national government in terms of our ability to raise those 400 million that's been tagged on us.
The authority oversees expenditure for key programs, including those for local fishermen and to build rural jetties. It also plays a crucial role in surveillance and monitoring of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. With its dividend to the government set to more than double, the NFA will have less money for these projects. Lindsey, National EMTV News, Manila.
As the ocean gets warmer, more and more of Papua New Guinea's tuna stock are migrating out of the country's exclusive economic zone and on towards the east of the Central Pacific Ocean. In 2015, tuna contributed $250 million to the country's gross domestic product.
Climate change is proving to be detrimental for Papua New Guinea's tuna stock. Research carried out by the Pacific community and their partners using complex modeling shows spatial shifts in the tuna stocks away from Papua New Guinea waters.
We do have some work that's ongoing at SPC in collaboration with one of our partners, research partners in Europe, trying to quantify the effects of climate change, mainly by understanding the environmental influences on the way tuna move and distribute themselves, and also how it affects their spawning habitat. And so coupling that with an understanding of how climate change might influence those environmental variables, so how climate change might influence sea surface temperature, currents, primary productivity, etc. We can couple that information together and produce predictions of what will happen with tuna. So we've gone through that process and continue to enhance those models to try and understand what might happen in the future. Generally what we're seeing is spatial shifts in the tuna stocks towards the east into the Central Pacific. In the case of albacore, also an expansion to the south. So yeah, some of these things are quite subtle. It's driven quite a lot by just the change in sea surface temperature and how that impacts the spawning habitat of the fish. But it's also about where primary productivity occurs and how the currents might change with climate change impacts and the weakening of the currents that push productive water from the Central Pacific to the Western Pacific. And if that weakens, then that might, or our models predict that will cause the tuna stocks to distribute closer to the productive waters in the Eastern and the Central Pacific.
Tuna is a highly migratory species, and large-scale changes in ocean climate are forcing the stock out of PNG's exclusive economic zone. The effects of the El Niño weather pattern also result in eastwards displacement of tuna. So many fish are finding new homes in the waters of Kiribati. Lian Jurari, National EMTV News, Manila.
The first judging of the Miss Pacific Island pageant was held at the Prince Charles Park, Nadi in Fiji yesterday. The swimwear category came with the theme Climate Change, Sustain Our Islands, highlighting the COP23 outcomes. Miss Papua New Guinea Niawali Twain Sarongwe told the story of the emerald green tree snail found nowhere else in the world but in Manus. The emerald green tree snail, also called the forest jewel, is scientifically known as Papastala pulcherrima. Miss Twain, who is part Manus, highlighted the fact that the green snail is an endangered species and its habitat, the tropical rainforest, is being threatened by logging, road construction, other development activities and rising sea levels. She used the Miss Pacific Islands pageant platform to call for its protection. Miss Twain tied her sarong in various ways depicting the green snail. One of them, the spine of the sarong tied like the spiral coil of the green snail. PNG is competing against 9 Pacific Island contestants from American Samoa, Cook Islands, Fiji, Nauru, Rapa Nui, Samoa, Solomon Islands and Tonga in the 4-day pageant. The next event is topic presentation and Miss Twain's topic is tourism. You're with Thursday's news. More local stories when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. With more Papua New Guineans showing interest in owning their own homes, there is also a need for more education on the country's housing benefits tax. This was a point raised during a stakeholder engagement by National Research Institute following a study into the public perception about recent changes in housing benefit tax in PNG. The final report is expected to be completed and released early next year.
A major tax policy measure in the 2017 national budget was the increase in the taxable component of employer-provided housing benefit. At the time the 2017 budget was passed, the government had argued that this measure was considered on equity grounds. Housing allowance received in cash is taxed in full, while the value of employer-provided accommodation is taxed at the very low and stagnant concessional rates. However, actual values of employer-provided accommodation, especially in major cities around the country, have been steadily increasing portions of the total compensation of employees. It was for this reason that the Tax Review Committee recommended the introduction of only very high-cost house or flat at the top of the table of prescribed values of employer-provided accommodation. But the revised legislation introduced 2 new tiers, upmarket and very high cost. In light of this, the National Research Institute carried out a study into the perception of these changes.
People have got mixed views. Some people think it's a good thing to do, and I think just because maybe they look at the housing, that some people have houses, some don't. So those who don't have probably would say tax them, tax those who have. But of course those who have it will have expressed their view that they're not really for it. In fact, they're asking for more concessions to be given.
Today, stakeholders were invited to a presentation of the draft findings. Among those present, the Internal Revenue Commission, who also used the opportunity to explain the details of the housing benefit tax.
If your employer pays 1,000 kina to your landlord and pays the rent on your behalf, you don't pay tax on the 1,000 kina, you pay tax on the benefit, which is way less than 1,000 kina, isn't it? You look at those tables. Instead of paying tax on 1,000 kina, you're paying tax on 150 kina. And remember, you're not paying 150 kina tax, you're paying your marginal tax rate on 150 kina. So the difference between Australia and here, in Australia, 1,000 kina, you would be paying, if you've got a marginal rate of 35%, you would be paying 350 kina tax. Here, with the benefit, you're paying 35 kina tax.
According to Dr. Oduno, the final report will be presented to a wider range of stakeholders with a special emphasis on highlighting the findings to key policy makers.
Again, the employees themselves should also be aware of this. They are the people who are paying tax. In a nutshell, you would say everyone is a stakeholder.
Meribatulo, National EMTV News.
The World Bank is expected to increase its funding in the next 3 years. Despite Papua New Guinea's economic challenges, Country Director Michael Kurth says World Bank recognizes the country's special potential and has decided to expand its involvement. Treasury Secretary Dari Vele, whilst appreciating investments from key development partners like World Bank, also challenged them to focus on human development indicators and not purely on infrastructure.
There will be a series of PNG Economic Update twice a year. It is aimed at analysing recent key development areas in the PNG economy on a long-term global context, while evaluating on key implications on government's development objectives.
The World Bank has decided to step up considerably its engagement in the country. So we've been able to mobilise a package of financing for the next 3 years, which is much higher than what had been available in the past up to now.
PNG, like other economies, rely heavily on natural resources but are facing challenges, and it's vital for the country to deal with fiscal standings.
100-day economic stimulus plan, the 2018 budget, the medium-term fiscal strategy, the medium-term revenue strategy are all steps in the right direction. They are all steps that the government is taking to try to increase the resilience of the economy. The decision to establish the Sovereign Wealth Fund also deserves, I think, a mention, as it could be an important step towards making progress in delinking the fiscal spending in particular from the vagaries of the international commodity prices.
Treasury Secretary Dari Vele says the national government's stand is on priority areas. Focus is on future investments.
To do over the last 10 years now is, and we Papua New Guineans being Christian, we're very biblical. So the idea is like the Pharaoh's dream, is to put away something in the 7 good years for when the 7 bad years come around. And that's been a challenge. It's also difficult to have that kind of mentality when you're running surpluses, when times are really, really good. And in some sense, not of your own doing, but gold price is high, oil, in which I have my background in, is at $137 a barrel, and you're trundling along and someone suddenly drops $19 billion of LNG production on you. That's very, very rare. So some of the issues that we're going through now, which are painful, but they are structural. And I think sometimes we forget that. So what we have been doing over the last closer to 7 to 5 years is trying to work through what is structural and what are the things that we are forcing on ourselves.
Most government spending has been on public servants where expenditure doesn't reconcile. At the same time, Vele suggested to the development partners to focus in supporting the government's human development indicators such as education and health.
Why should kids in the urban areas get more of a shot at education than kids in the rural areas? That doesn't make sense to us, and it's not fair. Again, I know we talked about the Services Improvement Program, which is, again, sometimes it's thought of as political spending. It's not supposed to be, and we all need to work together to make sure that it's not. But essentially what we did was we took money that we used to handle in Waigani, in Port Moresby, just across the road from this lovely establishment here. And we said, if people in those rural areas, or if people in the relevant areas who live in today's problems can't be a part of tomorrow's solutions, Waigani is not going to help you.
World Bank hopes the PNG Economic Report will be a tool for the national government in refining its policy and implementation. Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
Despite a shortfall with their TFF funds, head teacher for Gantom Primary School in Leh says they managed to complete the 2017 academic year using fees paid by parents. Yesterday, Education Minister Nick Kuman said TFF funds of 60 million kina for the final quarter will not be paid until the 2018 academic year resumes. The national government still owes them over 200,000 kina. The head teacher says they only received 20,000 kina.
127 grade 8 students of Gantom Primary School at West Taraka, a suburb in Leh, graduated yesterday. This was the school's first formal ceremony after 4 years. The grades 3 to 7 were also awarded with academic awards. The head teacher, Mrs. Martina Tanyalu, who became the headmistress this year, says the delay of tuition fee-free funds is one of the reasons that prevented the school from organizing such important events.
The TFF being paid into the school is about 15 to 20,000 paid into the school. Not really in what it has been before, 100,000. But now it's really low.
The school was established in 1981. It began with only 90 students and 3 teachers. It is also located in an area known for crime. The school has not organized a formal graduation ceremony since 2012. Tanyalu says the school has managed a proper ceremony this year with the fees paid by parents.
Our school, we are facing a lot of problems because of the whole administration has a lot of debts at the school. So whatever the TFF given to us, we tried our best to help the students and help to pay up some of the debts that were.
The head teacher for Milford Haven Primary School, Yellow Amu, told MTV News in Leh on Tuesday that the government still owes the school 89,000 kina. It has become clear that the tuition fee-free funds are not reaching the schools on time and has made it difficult for schools to operate. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3105 US in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.303 US, $0.3968 Australian dollars, $0.2526 euro and 33.64 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa and copra closed the day lower. Palm oil is trading lower while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 39.73 points lower, the ASX closed at 32.02 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 30.95 points higher. Stories making headlines overseas when we come back. North Korean defector survives after being shot 5 times. Stay tuned. For 2 young women, their dream of reaching Europe quickly turned into a nightmare after they were held captive in Libya and sold into slavery. Now at a safe house, one survivor talks about her horrific ordeal.
Because when I went to Libya, I was not like this.
Physically, at least, 28-year-old Edie is finally free. But the pain of what she endured, it's still so raw.
You used to help me apart from the work.
She was sold into sexual slavery in Libya.
And especially the haters, especially Nigerians, when you told them that you are from Nigeria, they will treat you like a slave. They treated us like a slave, as if we are nothing. So we went through a lot there.
Now back in Nigeria, she sits beside 18-year-old Jennifer, who is too traumatized to talk. They are kept here with other rescued women, where the hum of an overhead fan and a soap opera on TV are the only comforts in this temporary home. They're all waiting to be reunited with their families.
The young women are kept in a safe house in an undisclosed location, and the authorities say that as more and more return, the clearer the picture of just how vile and abusive the situation in Libya is. It's not just prostitution and human trafficking. Many returnees describe what sounds like an open-air slave market where people are just bought and sold, and anyone who tries to resist is often killed and their body just dumped in the desert.
They were trying to get to Europe, where the promise of work has driven record numbers of Nigerians on the dangerous journey across the desert toward the Mediterranean. And women, they are especially vulnerable along the way. Edie says she spent 3 days crossing the desert. One person in her convoy died along the route. When she reached Libya, she said a prayer of thanks, thinking the worst was behind her.
He sold you?
Yes.
Were they buying and selling a lot of people?
Yes, that is how they do there. When they finish paying their money, if you are staying with wicked somebody, it will sell you to another people, so you start all over again.
Little did she know that, like so many others, her goal, her dream of a better life would end in the increasing lawlessness of Libya.
In Argentina, a human rights group has located the daughter of a couple held captive and killed by the military decades ago. She is the 126th child who is part of the children of people who disappeared during the Argentine dictatorship. She was identified through DNA.
Happy is the word. I am whole. This piece in the jigsaw puzzle is, well, it's not just a piece, but really opens up a whole new jigsaw with a family that's even bigger and beautiful. It has made my life full.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the decision by the U.S. president is courageous and just to recognize Jerusalem as capital of Israel.
We're profoundly grateful for the president for his courageous and just decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to prepare for the opening of the U.S. Embassy here. This decision reflects the president's commitment to an ancient but enduring truth, to fulfilling his promises, and to advancing peace.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has vowed to recontest the presidential seat in 2018. This will be his fourth time to contest.
Thank you very much. Indeed, there can be no better place and no better reason for making this announcement. Thank you for your support. I will put forward my candidacy for the post of President of the Russian Federation.
It has captured everyone's attention, the royal wedding next year, as Prince Harry and American actress Meghan Markle plan their lives together. A plan that is sure to be 2018's wedding of the year. It will be held in May at Windsor Castle.
Now that the royal engagement is public, it's down to the business of planning the wedding. It'll take place in May next year, though no specific day has been announced yet. That'll be just after the birth of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's third child, expected in April.
William and I are absolutely thrilled. It's such exciting news. It's a really happy time for any couple, and we wish them all the best and hope they enjoy this happy moment.
The venue is to be one of the Queen's favourite homes, centuries-old Windsor Castle. The couple chose it, they say, because Windsor has become a special place for the two of them. Keeping with custom, the royal family will pay for most of the wedding. The chapel, St George's, is where Prince Harry was baptised and has hosted many royal marriages, especially second ones. Harry's father, the Prince of Wales, and stepmother, the Duchess of Cornwall, had their religious blessing there in 2005.
I think that Windsor gives them more control in terms of the fact that they can have who they want behind the walls of Windsor Castle. St George's Chapel is a magnificent chapel with so many kings and queens buried there and tombs there. I think actually you'll find it be an incredible occasion.
The chapel holds around 800 guests, so it'll be more low-key compared with the 2,000-capacity Westminster Abbey, where the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge wed in 2011. Charles and Diana were married at the equally grand St Paul's Cathedral. Meghan Markle will be the first American to marry into the royal family since Wallis Simpson famously wed King Edward VIII, forcing his abdication from the throne. Like Simpson, Markle is divorced, but 81 years later, it's not an issue. As for religion, though she attended a Catholic high school in Los Angeles, Markle is Protestant and plans to be baptized and confirmed into the Church of England. The guest list promises to be high profile. Markle counts Serena Williams amongst her friends. The Obamas and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau are also likely to attend. It's unclear whether US President Donald Trump, though, will even be invited. Unsurprisingly, Markle will become a British citizen, but plans to keep her American passport for now. A glimpse then into how this couple plan to be married, and they say they're going to be across every single detail. They also want the public involved and are working out how to do that.
True Guy Sports is next. Don't go away.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Vice Sports Minister Wesley Raminai has congratulated PNG weightlifters after claiming gold at the Mini Pacific Games in Vanuatu. Toa sisters Thelma Ndika and Moria Baru all won gold in their respective categories. Thelma claimed gold in the 48 kgs, Dika in the 52 kg and Moria in the men's 62 kg division. Raminai witnessed all three lifters put on an outstanding performance after attending the Pacific Sports Ministers meeting in Vanuatu. He encouraged PNG athletes to excel in their chosen sporting codes. Team PNG will send just under 100 athletes and officials to the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia. PNG Olympic Committee Secretary General Alvita Rapila has revealed.
Gold Coast 2018 marks Australia's fifth time in hosting the Commonwealth Games, with next year's event starting on the 4th to the 15th of April. The multi-sporting event has attracted 70 Commonwealth countries to participate, with over 200 teams contesting in 18 sports. PNG Olympic Committee Secretary General Alvita Rapila at the reception hosted by Governor-General Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai at the Government House said Team PNG will send under 100 athletes and officials to the Games.
The Games on the Gold Coast, we here in PNG feel even more connected with them. Team PNG will be sending a contingent of just under 100 athletes and officials.
Most of the athletes are currently competing at the Pacific Mini Games in Port Vila, Vanuatu, to test their measure against regional rivals, whilst using the event to qualify in their respective sporting codes.
And we hope that the PNG community, both from here and those living in Australia, will take the wonderful opportunity of proximity that the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games will provide to support Team PNG in person and share in our athletes' dreams.
Governor-General Sir Bob Dadai also shared the same sentiments, urging PNG communities in Australia to rally support behind Team PNG come game time.
And I must tell you, I'm keenly anticipating being part of a fervent PNG support group to cheer on our athletes as they compete at the Games.
Athletes and officials from 6 Commonwealth regions of Africa, the Americas, Caribbean, Europe, Asia and Oceania will converge on Gold Coast, Queensland for the 21st Commonwealth Games. Team PNG's final selection will be announced early next year. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Details of the Rugby League World Cup 2021 in England have been put in place. Many towns and cities in England have raised their hands to host matches during the World Cup.
About 39 towns and cities have expressed interest in hosting matches. Many of the matches will be played in the north, with Liverpool and Manchester are also set in to host matches. The number of teams taking part in the 2021 World Cup will increase from 14 to 16. This will see 7 European teams, 2 from the Americas and 6 teams from the Asia-Pacific region, which have already been decided in the likes of Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Australia and New Zealand. They all end their sports after qualifying to the quarterfinals this year. The other two teams are Lebanon and England. The 16th and final spot will be decided between the number 1 team in the Middle East Africa nation, the 3rd best team from the Americas, and a 7th Pacific team. This will also see the increase in venues from 12 to 14. Another difference in the next World Cup will see matches being played not only during the weekends but also during the week. The tournament will also run alongside the Women's Rugby League World Cup. It is also likely that the 2021 tournament will see the top 2 teams in each pool qualify for the quarterfinals. This will happen after Ireland won 2 games and lost by a close margin to PNG in this year's World Cup but failed to qualify for the quarterfinals, while Samoa proceeded to the quarterfinals without winning a match. The final of the 2021 World Cup is planned to be held on the 27th of November 2021. Elijah Levet, National NTV Sports.
Still to come in Trukai Sports, Russia's reaction on their ban to the Winter Olympics. Stay with us for details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says his country's athletes won't be told to boycott the coming games. His focus now is on the 2018 Olympic Games following revelations of state-sponsored doping.
Well, there's been some anticipation here in Russia as to what the reaction of the Kremlin would be following what the International Olympic Committee described as the country's unprecedented attack on the Olympic Games and on sport. Following the IOC's humiliating ban on the Russian team amid findings of a state-sponsored Russian doping program, there have been furious calls from some Russian lawmakers for a boycott of the Olympic Games, which are going to be held in Pyeongchang next year. But the Russian President Vladimir Putin has now made it clear that that will not happen.
Most of the accusations are based on facts that have not been proven and are largely unfounded. They are mainly based on the testimonies of a person whose moral and ethical attitudes and psychological state raise many questions. There is nothing else. Without any doubt, we will not declare a blockade of any sort. We will not prevent our Olympians from taking part if any of them wants to participate in a personal capacity.
President Putin called the IOC ban politically motivated, and he said that he would not block athletes from competing because under the terms of the ban, the IOC says clean Russian athletes with no history of doping would be invited to compete, but only under the Olympic banner. There'll be no Russian flag and no Russian anthem at the Winter Games in South Korea. Russia is accused of organising a state-sponsored programme of doping to enhance the performance of its Olympic athletes. Russian officials have conceded there's been a major problem, but they insist that doping was carried out by individuals and not organised on a state level.
And reaction continues to Putin on the IFC's decision to ban Russia's Olympic team. Gold medalist Lindsey Vonn gives her reaction.
I mean, if even a small percentage of that is true, then I would think the IOC did the right thing. I mean, obviously, there are potential athletes that are clean, but they have the option now to compete under a neutral flag, which I think is a good solution. But, doping and, what the Russians did is just not acceptable, and we have to make that clear and make it so that that doesn't happen again.
How does it make you feel to know that a country went to such lengths, state-sponsored doping, to pervert the outcome of the Olympic Games, something that you've competed in 3 times yourself?
I'm not surprised, unfortunately. When you're dealing with corruption like that, it's you don't expect it, but at the same time, it's not surprising. Some people will do anything to win medals and, bring home gold for their country, and there are rules for a reason, and some people just don't want to follow them.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. Weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
The weather forecast for tonight in the southern region: rain showers in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema and Popondetta, and showers in Alotau. In the Momase region, thundery rain showers in all centres. In the New Guinea Islands region, squally rain showers and thunderstorms in Lorengau and KVA, thundery rain showers in Kimbe, Kokopo and Ribao, and showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, thundery rain showers, then morning fog in all centres.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
And that's the news for Thursday, the 7th of December 2017. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.